Hi guys, Cammy again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Major updates announced to Black Ops 7 officially last night. Major changes to the aim assist expected for when the game officially comes around in a few weeks' time. The perk change as well that many asks for. Those are coming into effect as well, but also talk about the final roster in the CDL. Ravens may have finally cooked their full four-man team. Do they know what they're doing over here? Will Zuma be especially happy with what it means for the Stallions with one of the players they may be looking to sign? Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Plenty to get into. We're going to start, of course, with some talk on BO7. So there was some discussion. Could the game come out earlier than it is intended to? We're talking 14th of November. There was talk they might bring that back by a week, especially because of the Battlefield 6 effect right now. But it doesn't look likely. Taylor says it's going to launch on November the 14th. They're going to stick with that original date, probably as expected. They've also realized, it seems, Traixx and Activision, that this Matt Squance guy, people kind of like him. So if they put him in front of camera to talk about some updates, people will be on board, but mainly they're on board if what he says is a good idea, and that does seem to be the case. So the beta will basically be the same game as the full release, as always, but the changes they're looking to make are, generally speaking, along the lines that many of us wanted to see. So during the beta, there was lots of talk about dexterity, and also like when you're able to ADS and stuff like this. Dexterity was a crutch perk, there's no doubt about it. In the beta, you kind of had to use it, really. Now, it's still going to be valuable, as Matt Scott says, but many of the things that it previously did are now happening automatically, right? So that's the way they describe it here. We'll get to the aim assist in a second. ADS while sliding, diving, and wall jumping is now the default. You don't need dexterity for it. You will get maximum fluidity with dexterity, but you won't need it to ADS in all situations. So that is changing. That's a good thing. They're slightly going to make the footsteps a little louder. Usually in COD, we don't tend to like to see that. The quieter footsteps tend to be better, but they think that and it wasn't really a talking point of the beta, so they're going to tweak that, they say, rather slightly. A lot of other talk as well has been about the perk system that we'll get to here in just a second. Actually, we'll do the perks quickly now, because the major change here is that Tech Mask, whatever, has been moved to perk 2. So Flak Jacket and Tech Mask in the same thing. So they've messed around with a couple of things. Effectively means, as I think Parasite went on to describe, that if you want to go for specific builds, if you want to be tanky, if you want to be really fast with kind of lightweight type stuff, you've probably got to use perk green. It's kind of how it used to be back in the day. If you want to be quick, if you want to have, use Tac Sprinter, and again, Tac Sprinter is an interesting one because they might just GA it, and many people would say, actually, yeah, we do need to just GA that and not even bother with Tac Sprint in the game, but it is interesting to see about that. But perk greed will be pretty important, right? Because there will therefore be a trade-off between either being quick or being tanky, as it were, kind of like how it used to be back in the day. So I think some of the changes, at least they have made so far and are looking to continue to make, should be a good idea. The other key point, so they talked for a couple of minutes here about what they're doing with the perks, but the major thing for many of us is all about the aim assist. So at the end of the video, he talks about what they're changing with regard to aim assist. And what he said is that they've looked at the data, and the controller players tend to be winning a bit more up close, and the mouse and keyboard players tend to win a bit more at range, which frankly should be no real surprise. That's kind of what you'd expect, really. But he says because of that, they're looking to make some slight adjustments to the way the aim assist mechanics are going to work. But he also was very specific that in certain engagements, they will reduce the aim assist. Now, the way that he described this effectively, it's the rotational part of aim assist. So rotational aim assist, but let's say you're aiming down sight and you move your left stick, so you're like moving your feet, basically, you're running left or right or something, your weapon will still track them, even if you're doing nothing with the right stick, right? And this is a major notable thing that's happened in COD for years. It used to be rather weak. Now it's particularly strong that you don't even have to aim, basically. As long as you're moving left and right, then your gun will like stick onto them and kind of aim for you. Now, what Matt Squance said is that they're looking to change that. So the rotational aim assist will only kick in as long as you're moving your right thumbstick in the direction of the target. So the majority of situations for good players, it's probably not going to change much, but it does mean that for weaker players, they're not going to get that sticky aim assist if they're not actually trying to aim at you, right? So it's a pretty big deal, I think. And that's one of the key takeaways, that the aim assist is probably going to be made slightly weaker, but also there will definitely be instances where the aim assist will not be as strong in many instances, especially from the rotational side, which is often what is talked about. So, look, could they make that weaker as well, in addition to making changes to adjust when it activates? Those are good questions, but Simp's obviously pretty happy with the change. There will be lots of talk from players who are better, theoretically, right? Guys like Dashy, guys like Scrappy or whatever, who have a great shot. They might be pretty happy about this. I wouldn't be surprised. Look, when we heard that Traixx were going to look at aim assist, we expected them to reduce how good it is. That, it seems, is what they're doing. So on paper, however exactly they're achieving that, there should be, I think, good signs for the competitive scene going forwards. Blast even says, who's coming back, right? So Warzone player for a while, was in the Pro League back in the day as well. He did play briefly in the CDL for Los Angeles Guerrillas, actually, in the first year, I think. But as he says, I never abused rotational aim assist and was strictly right stick made. So I'm back, right? So, you know, players who find themselves in that category, they might be rather excited about this. Even Damon Karma Barlow, and we know that Karma is pretty level-headed, right? Like some of the younger players, the newer players, that's, I think, is why they bring some of the younger players into the, like, let's say, the play tests nowadays. Because some of the older guys, they're a bit jaded, right? They've played COD for years. Karma was world champion on Black Ops 2, right? So, like, he knows what a good Call of Duty is like. You bring him along to play test the new game, he's going to be like, yeah, it's fine, but you know, it maybe not what it was back in the day. So I think that's kind of why they like to bring some of the younger guys, because they're kind of fresh-faced and pretty excited to be playtesting the new Call of Duties. But my feeling is that it takes quite a lot to impress Karma, and Karma says we're in good hands with this guy leading the charge. So I think that's actually pretty damn high praise from Karma, to be honest, to say, look, we're in for a good year if Matt Sconce is the one making the decision. So that's the Black Ops 7 update. Let's talk about what's going on the roster side. So rumor had it the other day, this was going to be the Vancouver Surge team: Legend, Gwyn, Abe, and losers, Coach Tatura. Big questions on this team. Lots of risk I think they're taking for sure. Bringing in Legend is a massive question mark, an exciting one, definitely. Lunas did show potential in challenges, but obviously last year had a very difficult stint when he came to the league. Abe was pretty impressive, but he only played one tournament on Toronto Koi at the end of the year. And then Gwyn has been called into question for his LAN performances, as we know, but still clearly a talented player. Questions on where the leadership's coming from, questions on who's going to really help Legend learn the game. But there is some risk, and Ronnie says that's locked in, right? So as far as he understands, that's what his sources told him at the time, and now those deals are not necessarily entirely done, but at a point where he's confident enough to say that is going to be the roster. But what's going on with the Ravens? Because they're the final team to get locked in. Zuma hinted yesterday, Rostermania, something interesting is happening here, and it turns out we know what that is now, we think, with one of the players that Ravens are looking to sign. Now, we don't think it's Space Station Gaming anymore. They could have come in, but if they were to, they would have been stuck with the Carolina branding in the same way that Los Angeles Guerrillas Gentlemates were last season. They weren't really trying to mess around with that. So they may leave it another year before they look to come in instead, which means that Ravens and Brian Saint, they get another roll of the dice. Now, according to CDC Intel yesterday, a lot of the top SMG players have already got challengers rosters they're looking to bring in. So TJ Halley, Capsule, Johnny, and Nero all have various rumored teams, which means likely they ain't going to Ravens, right, of the other team that still needs to make a roster. So this is pretty interesting. I think Johnny, I think all of these guys are very much on the border of being CDL caliber. I'm surprised that TJ doesn't have a spot, to be perfectly honest, right? I think he's been very solid the last couple of years, especially given what was historically considered a kind of a lack of quality SMG players. But I guess over the last couple of years, that's changed around a little bit with some of the veteran ARs retiring and all this. But yeah, surprised that Tej isn't getting a spot after the couple of years that he's had. Capsule, I think I didn't expect him to start in the league for sure, but he's always going to be on the verge. Johnny, I think I would argue, is another player to definitely look at. And also Nero, right? All of these players, you could justify their inclusion in the league, and you could maybe justify their inclusion not being in the league in certain cases. I think that it's an interesting one for Nero, because people have considered, and for good reason, him to have very high talent, which he does, but converting that into results has been a bit of a challenge. So yeah, rumor has it therefore Ravens are looking to go a slightly different direction. And according to rumours, it's going to be Lurks. So Ronnie says the team of 4 is likely to be Slasher, who's obviously staying around, with Craze. That was the initial rumour. Sources say that that's now kind of signed. That's pretty much a done deal. Craze is going to be coming in. And Craze did a great job, as we know, from that team, the Omit team at the World Cup, where they knocked out FaZe. He was their best performer at that event. But for some reason, it seems pretty much last to get signed. We think that Mamba is going to the Rokkr team, or G2 Minnesota as it is now. Rokkr no longer exist, and then Vivid and Matt going to Cloud9 New York, we think. So that left Craze. It seems he's going to be joining along here. Now, we did talk the other day, and in my opinion, I still back this statement, that I don't know, Slasher's records teaming with rookies is not the best. I still think bringing in Slasher is a good idea. I think he brings a lot in terms of search and destroy. He's still a quality AR, I think. I don't agree that, you know, bringing in some other AR is going to deliver you better results. Look, do I think Slasher is as good as he once was? Do I think that Slasher's a great combination with this particular team? Not really. But I don't have an issue with bringing Slasher back in for another season with the Ravens. I think that signing Craze is a good idea. My question was really, if you are going to round out that team from Slasher and Craze, what do you do with the other pieces? Because I don't know if Slasher works very well with 3 kind of rookie-level players. We've seen his relationship with Snoopy or whatever before wasn't especially pretty on that Boston team. But it doesn't seem like that matters to them, because they're looking to bring in Lurks. Now, Lurks was on the Stallions, as we remember, with Abe, with Mercules, and with Encourage. And, well, he now looks like he's getting an opportunity here alongside Craze, I guess, on the SMG side, because they're looking to also bring in Geo as an AR. Now, what's very interesting is that the man behind this account knows, like, he is the absolute oracle when it comes to challenges. This is his opinion on Lurks because, well, very interesting move this, and Zuma will be having his thoughts and it be getting, you know, talked about, obviously, in due course. But as he says, this rumor astounded me. If anyone doesn't know, Lurks started off Black Ops 6 like a house on fire. In the NA Elite Stage 1, he was unbelievable and genuinely nearly as good as Merc was for the Stallions. But as the season went on and people learnt the game, he fell off drastically, plagued by poor decision-making and massive inconsistencies. His LAN performances weren't particularly good either, didn't qualify for champs. Outside of the game, he's got a bit of a reputation as poor in practice and a bit lazy, while also having a few communication issues. Those are the reasons why aBeZy started to overshadow him towards the ends. He's unbelievably mechanically talented and honestly a really nice kid, but I think he's nowhere near ready for a CDL opportunity. Seems like the type of player that Slasher will despise teaming with, which is interesting. But also I think there's got to be a recognition that the Slasher knows that if he doesn't get along with these guys, his career is done, right? So there is clearly a level of risk here that's getting taken, because Lurks clearly has a lot of talent. I don't think anyone's denying that. But as we've seen, some questions on whether he can convert that into proper success. But look, if you're going to take a risk on some players with talent, maybe this is the way to do it. And yeah, maybe there could be some clashes going on there internally, but Brian Saint is going to have to deal with that as the coach, although he's not got the best record as a coach over the last few years. So, very interesting move. I think generally I like it, right? I mean, it's a risk. Again, it's a risk, and it might blow up in their face, but I see the vision. Geo as the other AR is very interesting. Like, I do rate Geo. I think he's got a lot of talent in there. But again, Slasher is going to have to do a lot with Lurks, Geo, and Craze, I think. And I'm not sure it was exactly what I was expecting them to do. It's why that rumor, it wasn't really a rumor, but the other day there was talk about, oh, could they get Renegade and Bound, or at least like one of those guys? That could be interesting, because at least then Slasher has somebody else with some sort of winning experience alongside him. But this is going to be, yeah, it's going to be a weird team dynamic for sure. There is a fair bit of upside in there if it works, and I don't hate what they've done, but I'm not sure it's going to work out especially well. So intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. And just one final thing, Hex is putting on a COD 4 Modern Warfare Remastered Hex Quarters Invitational later on today. These are the teams. Team Allen is Huke, Shotzzy, Illy, and Bose. Team Wu-Tang, Drazah, Spart, Attach, and Donnie Temp. Team Wallace is Scump, Mercules, Karma, and Methods. And then Team Phenom, one of the most toxic lineups you're ever going to find. Crim is back with HyDra, Clayster, and Para. Parasite. So excited for this one. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.